Hello, and thank you for joining us for another segment of Camera On with Authors Inside. But before, I have a very special guest today. But before we get started, can you do me a favor? Can you push the like button and subscribe to get notification so you can continue to get more content like this? I have a special guest, Chris. I did time with him, and he's a good friend of mine. I used to always I used to always whoop on him on Scrabble. We battled with Scrabble a lot, and I won most of the games. So we challenge each other a lot, and I'm very welcome to have him here. So without further ado, I'm gonna let Chris come in and say something. Would you like to say, Chris?
Well, my name is Chris Martinez, and everything Gacy said about that game is a lie.
Yeah.
I got evidence. No, but this is a good man right here, man. He's real,
Yeah.
and I really appreciate him asking me to do this because it's a good thing he's doing. He's bettered himself as a man, and I'm appreciated that I appreciate that I'm here.
Thank you, Chris. Hey, Chris, how long was you incarcerated? Can you let the audience know how long you was incarcerated?
I was incarcerated 26 years.
26 years. And in that 26 years, how did you get through those 26 years? What was your mindset? What was your mentality? Did it change at any one point in time? Did you think you was ever going to get out? Just share with the audience, how you got through those 26 years.
Yeah, so I had two life sentences. I had 63 years to life. So in the beginning, I didn't think I was getting out. My first part of my first half of my incarceration, I was I was a knucklehead. I was doing things that I shouldn't have been doing, involved with the wrong people, and there became a point in my life where I just became tired of living like that, and just started changing my way of thinking. So I started uh, hanging out with different people that were motivated to self-help groups and bettering themselves, and people that had hope of getting out one day and using what they learning in the groups to help them when it comes time to go speak in front of the board, to make sure that they understand that we understand that as inmates, what got us to where we were, and we have an understanding now that everything we did was wrong, and um, we wanted better for ourselves. So once I started attending groups, there's a lot of stuff that I didn't know about my behavior that really changed my way of thinking, and I've learned that uh, you have to change your thinking in order to change your behavior. So that's the first thing I worked on, and just talking to people like you, and we had several guys there that were good people that were all in that same mind frame of bettering themselves and
Mhm.
getting their minds right, and you know trying to really get out and be productive people again. Um, it made it easy because we all lived in the same community. You know, I mean, I seen a couple of guys that you've already interviewed, and we all have the same story.
Yeah,
It all starts from the beginning. We were all bad, and then there became a point where we changed, and
yeah.
this is where we're at now.
Chris, I'm trying to I want to give our viewers a glimpse of what it's like to be inside prison. It's not something that we glorify. Um, let them know like the politics aspect of it with your ethnicity, because our mission is hope, healing, and reform to reduce recidivism. So we don't want youngsters to think prison is cool. So as far as your ethnicity being Hispanic, let them know. Can you tell just touch on it a little bit?
So I was when I first became incarcerated, and throughout my life until that point to where I made started making my change, I was a sureño, which I meant that I ran with the Southern Hispanic gang members. I just became a part of it because that was what it was from the very beginning when I started doing time. I mean, this was my seventh term, my seventh and last term. I had been doing this since the age of 12 years old. I've got over 40 something years incarcerated. So I knew politics from the very beginning when I started going to juvenile hall. And it was all about hate, you know, it was all about hate. It preached hate. And it kind of brainwashed me a little bit in the beginning where I started to believe it. But as I got older, I learned, this is not what I do. This is not what I am. My parents never taught me that. This is something I learned in the streets. This is something I learned in jail, in prison. You know, our politics are ugly. They're very strict, and it's easy to become a target if you go against them. So in the beginning, I never said anything. I went along with the flow. I was a coward. I went along with the way things were instead of standing up like a man and saying, you know what, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to turn the other. I'm going to do a different thing. I'm not going to do that. I had to really grow up and make that change for myself and turn my back on that. But it's all hate. The politics are hate. You know,
Mhm. Yeah,
so
I think that's very important that you at a point in time your mind shifted and saying, "Look, what am I doing? My parents didn't teach me this." And it's just darkness. There's nothing pretty about prison, man. It's
no,
ugly. It's miserable. It's lonely, man. And I did 27 years, and like I say, man, it was some of the worst times of my life, man. And I don't want to never to glamorize it, because um, we're trying to promote safe communities. We're trying to promote family, and we're trying to detour the kids for thinking prison is cool and drugs is cool. You
yeah,
know?
yeah. I mean, I was a heroin addict for 31 years. Um, I was stuck in that lifestyle. I never wanted to get out of that lifestyle. I loved being high, and until I fixed my addiction, I couldn't even start thinking straight. So that was the first step, was getting that gorilla off my back, basically,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
that was killing me.
yeah.
My family started to turn their back on me because I was just living an ugly life.
Yes,
And it
sir.
didn't matter whether I was incarcerated or I was on the streets. It was the same thing, you know.
Yeah. What are some of your failures and what are some of your successes?
Well, my main failure was not being able to recognize that I had a problem, you know. I had a problem for a long time and I thought I was good, I thought I was good. I thought everybody else was wrong. I thought everybody else had a problem.
Yeah,
And I didn't know how dead wrong I was until I actually started thinking, like a normal person. You know,
yeah.
um, I've always been a hard worker. Like every time I've gotten out, I never had a problem finding a job. It was just keeping it because of my addiction, and I always let that control my life. So uh, I'm a hard worker. You know,
Yeah.
I started working three days after I got out of this. I've been out uh, what 13 months now.
13
Uh,
months? Okay. I was gonna ask you how long you've been out.
yeah, I've been out 13 months now, and I had a job from day three when I got out, and
Hmm.
never took a day off. I mean, I love working. I love making money. I love taking care of myself, doing things for myself. I have a nice car now. In fact, I have two cars right now, but I'm doing very well with adjusting. Adjusting wasn't really hard for me because I already knew what a good life was because I had lived it before. I already knew what it felt like. So as long as I knew I could keep my addiction out of the equation, I'd be good. And that's where I'm at. You know, I'm at a point where there's no turning back for me. I'm not going backwards at all. There's nothing that's going to make me go backwards. I mean, the death of my mom, the death of my brother, I mean, that was probably one of the worst feelings to being in prison to go through, you know? I mean, I didn't know how I dealt with that. And there was a time in my life where the first thing I would have done was to go get high. And that wasn't even a thought when those things happened, you know? because those were my two main supporters out here. No matter what, they had the unconditional love for me, and um, I'm just thankful that I changed my life, but I'm not thankful that they didn't get to see the change in my life. You know, but I know they're watching. I know they're watching me, and it's all good.
Yeah. I definitely could relate. I sympathize with you because I lost my mother
I know.
while I was in 2019, and I live with a lot of regrets, and in those regrets, I learned a lot of valuable life lessons that life is short and it's
That's it.
precious. So I definitely can relate to you as it pertains to losing loved ones while you're incarcerated. I just feel guilty, shameful, because I can't help but to think that I could have did something to make my mom life easier, but instead I was incarcerated. I was selfish and I was greedy. I made it all about me. So those are the things that the challenges that I have to deal with every day. And not only that, the people who I cause harm to, who I impacted, you know,
Correct.
understanding the harm I caused them as well. So I definitely can relate. But I want to take you back, Chris. While you were incarcerated, what were the feelings surrounding that incarceration? What was your feelings like? Share with the audience what your feelings was like.
My feelings during my incarceration.
Yes, sir.
Uh, I felt depressed. You know, I knew.
Hmm.
I knew this is not the way life is supposed to be. You know, every day I would wake up and I was hoping I would be in a different place. And when I'd wake up and I'd look around and say, "Man, I'm still here." You know, it's an ugly feeling. You know that you don't have any freedom. You know, nothing, everything's taken away from you. You know, your whole life is dictated for you, and that's the I really hated it. You know, I hated the fact that you know I was strong enough to uh, change earlier and make myself not put myself in that position because I knew better, but I just didn't care. You know, um, I uh, I dealt with it the best I could. You know, I had to deal with it by uh, surrounding myself with more positive people. You know, like consider like even just playing Scrabble with you every day. You know that that was uplifting because I would not only whip on you, but I would also get satisfaction of getting some good positive
Yeah,
feedback from you on just life. Period.
yeah,
Yeah,
yes, definitely. Um, you said you've been out how long now? You said you've been out,
I've been out 13 months now.
and what's the feelings associated with that, being out of prison?
Oh, man, it's lovely out here, man. I mean, I love life. I mean, I got a beautiful girl. Um, I got a good job. I don't
Yeah.
make a lot of money. I make good money. I make a decent amount of money. I'll probably live beyond my means just a little bit right now, but I'm gonna catch up, and everything's gonna be all right.
That's
Uh,
right.
I
That's
love
right.
life. I
That's
love
right.
life. I mean,
Yeah,
it's good.
that's good, Chris. That's good, man. I'm happy for you, man. I know it was a long journey, 'cause I share some of that journey with you, and I'm happy you look good on the side of the fence. Before we go, you want to say something funny, or what would you like to share with our audience before we go?
Oh, I'm not really a funny guy. I just
Yeah.
I I just love I could say I could look back at what everything that's happened in my life. I mean, even those two life sentences, and
Hmm.
I'm grateful for it because without that, I wouldn't be where I am right now. I
Oh
needed
yeah.
that. I mean, I don't know. I'd probably be dead if I didn't get those two life sentences. Um, meeting people like you and several other guys, that are in the same mind frame. I mean, you guys are probably going to be friends for life for me. You know. I'm grateful for that.
That's right.
I know
That's
I
right.
have good friends, you know,
That's right.
even though you get mad at me sometimes, you know, it's all
Yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah. Well
Yeah.
said, man. I feel the same way about you too, man. You're a good individual and yeah, and a lifelong friend. So, with that being said, thank you for joining us on Cameron, and we just appreciate you, man.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for asking me. Cool.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
With that being said, Cameron.